Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. This is post-podcast episode / editing coach, if you'd like to say. So we actually had a very long live discussion on my Twitch stream. So we actually had 2 solid hours of good discussion and content. So I decided to split them up. So Bad Blood predictions and everything like that should already be released. That should be posted on YouTube already. As for the second half of the discussion, it's very NXT heavy. Very lively debate, discussions, however you want to say. And we also discussed a little bit of Bron Breakker as well as the Vince McMahon documentary. So stick with me. This is now part 2 of the episode. Nick, I kind of want to give you this. I know in Nick's chat we were talking about the NXT stuff, so I'm going to kind of let you review what happened last night on NXT. But then you definitely want to talk about the Roxanne Guilia thing, because we were talking about that in Nick's chat, and I'd reached out to Tomlin on the side, and we were both like, let's talk about this later, because this would be a good discussion. So Nick, go ahead, review.
It was actually reported earlier today that they drew in 895,000 viewers for the debut, which is pretty damn good. The highest viewership for NXT since last October, so it's been about a year.
I got the title back on the right person finally.
Yeah, Trick Williams got the championship back from Ethan Page. Guilia got defeated by Roxanne because of Cora Jade. She got involved. So it looks like the Cora Jade and Roxanne are going to have like a little bit of a team up, especially since Cora Jade, when they were backstage, said that, I like this new Roxanne. She's more of a bad girl. I could get behind this. Maybe there's like an alliance there or something like that moving forward. And essentially took out Guilia, losing her first match in WWE. And we also had Tony D and Obafemi on Miz TV ahead of their match next week. The street fight between Wes Lee and Zachary Wentz was phenomenal. I absolutely loved it. Especially that ending with when Wesley had the chains wrapped around his knees whenever he did that double knee drop on Wentz. That was awesome. What else do we have? Fatal Influence defeated Lola Vice and Jada Parker after Jada Parker walked out on Lola Vice, so there's definitely going to be some friction there. Probably going to be a little side feud before they go back to Fatal Influence. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, there was also a promo teaser for Delta last night as well. If you guys don't know who Delta is, she's an Australian wrestler. I believe she's like 24 or 25. She's got comparisons to Rhea Ripley. Apparently they do know each other. She wrestled in, I believe, RCW, Riot City Wrestling in Australia. I believe South Australia. And she is fucking phenomenal. I've seen a bunch of her matches on YouTube. She is great in the ring. So she's going to be debuting on NXT Halloween Havoc on the 27th. So make sure to look out for that. And Stephanie Vacour is also going to be in NXT soon as well, since we saw her last week on NXT show up during the press conference between Guilia and Roxanne, saying that she wants next. So I would also believe that there would probably be like a Roxanne Cora Jade tag match with Guilia and Stephanie Vacour in the future. Maybe that's what we see at Halloween Havoc. And then we see the debut of Delta there too. Of course, like Tomlin mentioned, Trick Williams is the new NXT champion. 2-time Trick, as we like to call him now.
All right, well, I want to go over the Trick Ethan thing first, because Tomlin said it back to Trick where it's supposed to be, right? Why do you feel that way?
Because he's easily the most popular wrestler in NXT. It's not even close. And his first title reign ended before it should have. And I don't know very many people outside of you that were very thrilled about Ethan Page being the champion either. I'm indifferent about Ethan Page. I don't really like him. I don't really dislike him either. I thought
it's kind of like a neutral feeling.
I thought he was very boring in AEW, and his character hasn't changed at all since jumping over. I think if he makes it up to the main roster, I just don't see it.
I like Ethan Page. I know Nick does like him as well. I think if he's on the main roster, he's a mid-carder. He's kind of like the Miz level. Like, he might flirt with something, but there's no chance he's going to win a major title. But to clarify the championship thing, that wasn't really about him. I think that was a trick to get him, like, to cost him to build him up later. They just couldn't bury Ethan Page that fast and have him lose to a next guy. Like, I don't think that, like, that easily could have been substitute some other wrestler here. But
absolutely.
I do like him. I don't think he's like amazing in the ring or anything, but I think he's like good
He's
enough.
alright.
He's good enough. I like his character work. I like his mic work. I think he's the only wrestler I can even think of recently that actually like will come to the ring with glasses on, which, you know, as someone that wears glasses, I'm like, I kind of like that. Like, it's different. You know, like a lot of people show up in like dress suits or whatever, and like I don't know, he's that like in between. He's like the business casual look. So I like his presentation. I like all that. I like Trick. He's over. I just think he needs like more polish in the ring. And I'm also like, I guess maybe this is just because I'm a little bit older, but like the whoop that Trick stuff and stuff like that, I'm always like, always thinking of the double meanings, and I'm just like, is this really what we're chanting right now? Like, I would feel weird saying this, you know? But like for as big as his like jacked as he is and as big as he is, I just wish he had a different finisher and like did a little bit of differentness to his like presentation.
I love his finisher, his scissors kick. It's beautiful.
Just as big as he is, though, I'm like, if it was Daniel Bryan stuff, cool.
Well,
but
I mean, he's smaller than Booker T. He just uses Booker's moves pretty much. His moveset is pretty much Booker T's.
yeah, that's what I don't like. I'm like, I don't want like a new age copy of another wrestler. Like, I want you to
That's
adapt
who
and
he was
become your
trained
own
by.
thing.
I don't think it's any different than Daniel Bryan using a lot of Chris Benoit's or Dynamite Kid's moveset. I think it's the same thing.
I feel like with Daniel Bryan though, they're just like submission holds. So like that's just kind of wrestling, you know?
Right, but there's still moves that he took from other guys, though. I just don't see a problem with it.
I feel like
He
those.
took the headbutt came from Dynamite Kid and Benoit. Also, I just say it's very common in wrestling for guys to take moves from the person who trained them. Is all.
No, that's fine,
Yeah.
but I don't want like a carbon copy of that. Like what's I can't think of I haven't watched as much as you guys
I don't
have.
think he's a carbon copy of Booker. It's just he occasionally does a bookend, and he does win matches with the scissors kick a lot, though.
I've
Mhm.
never seen him do the scissors kick. I've always seen him just do the trick shot, which is just the knee to the head.
Yeah, the
I've seen him do
trick kick
scissors
or
kicks
whatever.
to people. A good finisher's one you can do to everyone. Trick is a big
Fair.
guy, but if he tries to come up with some move like look at Baron Corbin, the end of days, cool ass move, he can't do it to half the roster because they're too big to take it.
Yeah,
They just didn't.
don't like Ethan Page's finisher because I don't think he can do that to everybody. But I also know
No, he
like
can't.
yeah, I also know in like
He can barely do it to guys his size. He could barely get Trick up for it last night.
yeah, but I do like I get why he kind of does it though. Like in that one podcast or whatever, he was like, basically, I look at the roster and I try to find a move that's not being utilized as much, so we don't have the same move and the entire roster's doing it. Because I think he said he used to basically do like what the Cody Cutter thing is, and he's like, well, that's Cody, so I can't do that anymore. So
Well, then he needs to come up with another new finisher because Damian Priest has been doing that longer than he's even been on TV. You know, Damian Priest has been doing that since the Indies.
either way,
Mhm.
I don't think anybody does it that well. It just takes too long. It doesn't really seem like that hardcore. Damien just needs to keep with that like huge ass choke slam thing. That needs to be his finisher going forward.
The South of Heaven choke slam is one of my favorite finishers in WWE.
Like that's
Well,
what
they
his
usually-
finisher needs to be.
It's kind of like the last ride. His finisher is the choke slam. He only uses the razor's edge, like when that's kind
The
of like an
false finish.
exclamation point.
Oh,
No,
okay.
it's more of an exclamation point. Like if he's already got the guy complete, like he hits his choke slam and he wants to do more. Like so, for example, he might have Dom completely beat, and then to add insult to injury, he decides to pick him back up and do a razor's edge to
Okay.
him. You know,
That's okay then.
or during just like a beatdown or something. Like
Yeah.
when they get into like a fight, he'll end it with like a razor's edge. But because I get that it is a really big move that people associate, you know, as a it's always been booked as devastating. Like Scott Hall, like it's not very many people have ever used it as their finisher, and it's always been booked very strongly with people that have. So
Mhm.
I've only really ever liked it from Scott Hall.
Same.
Scott Hall can make anything look cool. So
I feel like as much as like you wrestle, like it's hard to get somebody in that position and like get a good hold and then make it safe. So it just seems so like slow building kind of thing to me. But I'm not the biggest fan of that move.
I don't like
Yeah.
any move that looks like the other person is letting you do it. So I'll leave it at that.
But I don't know. I'm not like if Trick's gonna get the title back and then like I want to see him wrestle every week then. Because I actually was enjoying his kind of work away from the title of Pete Dunne and like questioning himself. Like you started to get some more storylines out of him, and not just every week, coming out, whoop that trick, whoop, whoop. All right, let's wrestle. I'm gonna beat a guy with a kick, and it's over. Like I get sometimes you don't have the time, and that's fine, and you got to get him on the TV, but I want to see more of the other side of Trick, of the backstage. Oh my God!
To be
Like
honest with you, I can't remember a time over the last year and a half where Trick wasn't in a consistent storyline, though. To be honest with you,
I mean, I only remember
thinking about it.
I never watched it on a regular basis. When I kind of
He was
started
feuding
back up
with Carmelo consistently
Yeah.
for like a year. He feuded with Ilya for a while. He's been.
Mhm.
I feel like he's been booked pretty solidly storyline wise.
I liked him
I
when he was.
haven't watched every week like Nick does though, so Nick would know better.
I
Than
think-
would, but-
I think that he's probably like going forward. I could see him and Paige continuing. Maybe for like one more rematch at Halloween Havoc, but then like Trick will move on eventually.
Mhm.
And there are some other people that they could use on NXT. And I think that was also the point of getting the championship off of Trick, was to give Trick the chase again, build up, like you said, Coach, have him question himself and stuff like that.
Well, it's
and-
pretty clear they were saving the CW debut for him to win the title back. It's
Oh
pretty
yeah,
obvious.
that's
That
absolutely.
makes-
now,
yeah, timing
now
wise
in
makes sense.
hindsight,
For it, too.
in hindsight, that's very obvious now that that's.
Yeah,
what they're doing.
absolutely, 100%. And
I just didn't think about that till last night. Right when he won the title, I said to my roommate, I was like, "Oh, duh!" I was like, "They're on the new network." Yeah, duh. I was like, obviously.
once the match got announced, I'm like, yeah, I think Trick is definitely winning this.
Yeah, well, I had a feeling Trick was gonna win. I didn't think there was any chance Ethan was gonna win last night.
Well, I mean,
Especially-
they've already had like a couple of other matches too.
Well, that's what I was
Ethan
gonna
Page defended
say.
against Trick
And
too.
the last time Ethan retained, it was like super dirty, and like so I was just pretty confident Trick was gonna win last night.
Yeah,
I actually kind of liked how they booked it, where like Ethan didn't look like a joke or a complete heel, and he got into it with like CM Punk, with like stuff like that, and that again, it was like,
It was a good match.
well, his ego, kind of cost him, and blah blah blah. So I thought it was a good match.
I thought Punk GTSing Ethan at the end while the confetti was pretty funny.
yeah, that was
Like,
awesome.
like so Ethan knows what his role is, bro, and he played it well last night. So
Yeah, that's what I mean. You were kind of saying though you were not a fan of it, but I feel like he plays his role well.
I didn't say I didn't like him. I just said I'm not really I just don't really care about him much. Is all. I'm pretty indifferent about him.
Okay, because
That's
I feel
he
like
he does his role just fine. No problem with him.
yeah,
I think he does great mic work, great promo work. He's a good character and stuff. But
I
like,
think he has a chance
he's
to
very
improve.
mid in the ring. I don't
He has
like
a
him in
chance
the
to
ring.
improve
But...
in NXT. In AEW, he just didn't really never improved at all. So
yeah,
see
he
how
didn't. He
does.
didn't improve at all in AEW because he wasn't
Because
given the screen
I
time.
don't-
At least
I
in
don't
NXT,
see
he's given
him-
screen time.
I don't see him being the guy. Like I don't. If it's probably gonna be. I think he's gonna be in NXT for a while, so he'll have plenty of time to learn and improve. That's not a bad thing. He's already got pushed faster than Lexus King. Like they're just now starting to finally like push Lexus King and use him more, and he's been there for well over a year now.
Yeah.
So I think Ethan's fine. I don't think he has anything to worry about. I think he's on a good track to move up.
I'm not gonna say that he's super old because I think he said he was 34, but at the same time, I'm like,
Yeah,
I
he's
didn't realize
34.
he was 34. I thought he was younger than that. So I do feel like if they do want to make him a legit wrestler, I guess on the main, that I don't think he'll be in NXT too long. Like I think they need to
Yeah,
push him up
They
and
got a
utilize
year
him
or two
somewhere.
they could work with him if they want to.
He's got
but
18 years of experience too.
Yeah, so I'm like, I don't think he's gonna
They
be in
can-
NXT that long.
It just
Yeah.
depends on it depends on just what they got going on. I'm sure they're
Exactly.
going to try to move him up if they can.
He'd be the guy that, again, I'm a little biased because I am a fan. Like I agree with what all you guys have said. With like, I think he's better on the mic than he is in the ring. But like, hello, John
I would
Cena.
rather
Like,
him be, I would rather him be good on the mic than good.
yeah,
on
I
the
think
show.
you can get
Yeah.
over and be a success if you're good on the mic and mid in the ring. Where if it's the other way around, I don't feel like you could be a major title holder that way.
No, nobody really cares. I'm sorry, nobody gives a shit if you're good in the ring. Like fans need
Yeah.
to stop pretending like they do because they
Yeah,
don't.
exactly.
They say
Yeah,
they
like
care,
I'm
but
more pulled.
they say
towards,
they
like, the
care. They
stories
say
and
they
stuff.
care, but the top draw in the industry has literally never at any point in time ever been the best in ring worker. That's never been the way it's worked. Like that's just not.
Maybe
Like you could say Daniel Bryan, but he wasn't over because his in ring.
Yeah.
He was over because of the storyline he was in.
Mhm.
Like,
agreed. I guess the main thing, I don't want to sound too much like a dick, but I would just remember in chat, I was like, you know what? When Roxanne wins, I'm going to say I told you so. But I want to hear why you guys both were like, Julia's got to win. She's got to win. She's got to win.
She should have won.
Why?
What did that win do for Roxanne?
What did losing hurt Julia? We've seen her wrestle like 2 matches.
Okay, no, I'm not arguing. The argument is though is what a win is supposed to give the winner something. A loss 99.9 times out of 100 does not hurt the person losing. A loss has never ended anyone's career in wrestling history, and I'll argue anybody that never has.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay, for this situation,
winning did nothing for Roxanne at all.
I see. The thing is, I was saying,
all that match did was tell me that Roxanne's not good enough to beat other chicks on the roster. Is what that match told me.
Go ahead, Nick.
Well, see, Tomlin, you're saying like you're saying the Roxanne stuff, and Coach is saying the Julia stuff. What you guys are not thinking about is Cora Jade. I think this whole thing was about Cora Jade. Wasn't about Roxanne. Wasn't about Julia. It was about Cora Jade.
Then Roxanne shouldn't be the champion.
But it was all about reintroducing Cora Jade.
Then Cora should be the champion if that's what we're using storyline feuds for. Like, I mean, this is my whole thing. Okay, I understand the loss doesn't hurt Julia, correct? A loss also would not hurt Roxanne, but the win did not help Roxanne. A win most certainly would have helped Julia. So the only benefit we get out of that match is Julia winning, and instead we got nothing. And I'm sorry, what? Because Cora Jade is back from what's this, like her 3rd return from an injury in like fucking 7 months.
I think it's like her 3rd.
So why should I be optimistic that this is like this run all of a sudden she's going to be super over?
I wanted to let you guys get your stuff out because I always feel like we have 3 different viewpoints. So I wanted to let you say your stuff. So I didn't get to see the match because and I'm pissed about this because it was the first one on the match and I was still streaming baseball. So I literally got to come in, saw like 2 moves. I think whatever happened, Cora showed up because I remember I just hopped in Nick's chat and I saw him with the big like and I was like, all right, mute, I don't want to know. And then I went over and watched it and saw it and was like, gotta be Cora. And then it was her and I was like, literally,
you did call it a couple of months ago.
Literally, I was like, I told Nick a month ago this was gonna happen in Chicago. So I was like, awesome, got that one right. And from what Nick told me, the match was great, and that's really what the fans got out of it, was a good match or a great match. I don't know if it was great or not, but like it seemed to, I think I hopped in like 20-25 minutes late and they were still going. So I'm assuming it was a solid match. They gave them time to show their skills. Like, I'm with you on the end of like Tomlin that I'm not the biggest Roxanne fan. I don't buy her on the mic at all.
I don't really care about Julia either, but it's pretty clear that she should have won.
But
they got nothing out of Roxanne winning.
This is where I guess disagree with both of you, is that you guys have seen Julia. You know what she can do. You know how like great she is, whatever she can do.
Oh, that's the first time I've ever watched her wrestle was last night. So.
Okay, so, but you're aware of her.
I just don't care about Japanese wrestling, so I never.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, like, I understand where Tomlin is coming from, where Julia should have won the championship, and I was on the exact same path of thought with him as well. But also at the same time, I wasn't mad about Julia losing because this gives her more of a chance to connect with the audience, with the American audience, after transitioning from Japan, getting used to this American audience, and building herself up in NXT. And a lot of people are saying that she was buried, but I don't think that's necessily true because this is only her second match in WWE, and it was by shenanigans too. She lost because of shenanigans. So like that's just gonna build her up even more and get her more behind the American crowd, even more in a way compared to if she just won it right off the bat. I see both sides. Her winning it right off the bat would have been awesome for like the hardcore fans, the people who know her and everything. But this is going to be even better for the fans who don't really know her, who are maybe casuals, watch every once in a while, get to know her, and then see her win the championship and know who she is.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, I was like, I didn't really finish my piece on that. I was going to say, like, yeah, for your casual fans that don't watch every week or are aware of the outer free agents or even AEW for that extent, you can't bury someone you don't know anything about. And like, sure, people get excited for anybody new, and they can Google her name and see she's accomplished. But like, unless she's gonna go to the roster, like if she's super polished and ready, then okay, give her the championship.
Yeah,
but
she's got to learn the WWE way of how things work first.
If she was on the main roster, I would totally understand having her lose. But this is fucking NXT, man. Like it's a developmental title. The whole point of developmental is to find out what you got. And if I have somebody who I think is potentially going to be a big star, I want to know how they look with a singles championship on. I want to know how they carry themselves with a championship. I want to know how they perform when in championship matches where a vast majority of people assume they're going to win. And last night, Julia checked all of those boxes. They just didn't put the title on her.
Okay.
Personally, I would have loved to have seen her win it. I think it would have been awesome.
I just think NXT,
because I've been such a fan.
NXT, there's just no reason to slow burn storylines in NXT. Like, you're trying to find out what you got, and I don't think it takes 2 fucking years to figure out. It doesn't take 2 years of storylines to figure out if somebody's good enough to go to the main roster or not, in my opinion.
All right, but
hold on. They did the exact same thing with Ethan Page. Ethan Page lost his first match against Trick, won the championship the next month at Money in the Bank. I think the exact same thing's going to happen with Julia.
I don't want them to do the same booking for everyone either. You know?
Yeah, I understand that, but I think that's probably where they're going to go. But the thing is with Julia is a bigger star than Ethan Page, in the grand scheme of things.
Probably.
I'm gonna mute you guys. I keep getting cut off. The whole point is, like, I feel like you guys are looking at it as like HBK Triple H, or you're looking at it as a hardcore fan. Like, that's kind of how I view you two. Casual fans don't know who she is, and the fact that she can't like really speak and get over. Like, can we admit that conversation thing or whatever was terrible, and the only thing that saved that was Stephanie showing up? Like, it was awkward. It was fumbled. Like, it was terrible. But yeah,
it felt awkward until she started speaking in Japanese.
Like, and for me, like, I don't, the wrestling on like other cultures or whatever is fine by me. But for me, if you can't cut a promo and tell me I suck and like I'm the best in the world, blah 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 blah, and you need a translator that I think he even did a bad job doing that, like, I'm sorry, you can't be a major title. And I know this is NXT and she can have that title as well. But, like, how am I supposed to believe somebody I've never seen match? She can't have a conversation with me, and you guys are going to give her the title, like, after 2 weeks? It just blows my mind. I don't get it at all. Because it's not even about Roxanne, how good or bad she is or whatever. The whole thing is, this is going to lead into something else. And really, I expected something between her and Cora. I thought it was going to be more yin and yang, and maybe we get that, and we're just being thrown off a little bit. I expect Julia to go off and just have banger matches with somebody else, allow the fans to get behind her, fall in love with her, because I don't know who the fuck she is right now. So why do I care about her?
Well, they should have done that before they fed her to a girl that's 6 inches shorter than her.
Now, if they had done, you know, the like stuff that they used to do back in the day with like these teaser trailers, you know, she's coming, here's this, show off some finishing moves or whatever, some tape from wherever, great. Then we would know who the fuck she is.
Owens wins in NXT. He comes in, has his banger debut, and then his first feud is immediately for the title. But they didn't do that. They didn't have her beat anybody formidable. They just said, "All right, you're going straight to the title, and you're going to lose."
I also feel like Kevin Owens had been around longer. I feel like Julia is still pretty young, so like, let her learn the WWE way.
The point is neither of them were known by mainstream audiences. Though is the point, though. WWE fans outside of hardcore fans didn't know who Kevin Owens was.
Yes, but again, Kevin Owens the next night can come out and tell me to my face how much I suck and how amazing he is. If she wins, what are we going to get the week after? A translator, a Japanese promo.
Did you dislike Asuka as champion?
I never watched her as champion. She's great in the ring, but again, I don't believe her as a major title. She's not a draw. She can wrestle amazing.
She was a big draw in NXT, but on the main roster is a completely different story.
Yeah, she could be at a major title and have a great run in NXT, I guess. But like, you're never, in my eyes, ever going to draw money if you can't cut a promo in the ring against your opponent.
Asuka's had 2 very successful runs on the main roster, though. Is all. That's why I was asking.
But I like never thoroughly enjoyed them, and I don't think they ever drew money. It was great. We had some banger matchups because she can go in the ring, but like every time was always like
I
the
know, but
excitement
what
was for like
really
dark side or
honestly-
whatever. So
What really honestly draws money outside of Roman and Cody, though? I mean, honestly.
well,
Jey Uso, LA Knight. Yeah.
I mean, they sell merch, yeah, definitely. But I don't think that
well, all right. Let me rephrase
LA
it then.
Knight.
Let me
I don't
rephrase
think
this.
if LA Knight versus Jey Uso went 1-on-1, I don't think that would sell 80,000 tickets to a stadium show.
Well, let me rephrase. Like, I mean more like draw the fans in, get excited about. Like they'll be like, this is the match of the night I'm looking forward to. Like if there's no build up and it's just wrestling, go watch AEW, go watch New Japan, whatever. If you're just like you were saying earlier, you literally were saying earlier, it's better to be able to speak than wrestle. If all you do is wrestle and you can't speak, you'll never get over as the main one. But then like almost saying like Julia should be shoved down my throat because she's such a good wrestler.
Am I
it doesn't
saying
make
she
sense.
should be the main one, or am I saying she should win a title in a developmental brand?
But after 2 weeks that we don't know anything about her, it just
in a
doesn't make sense to
developmental
me.
brand. Absolutely.
See, to me, that's
'Cause
just
like you said it. You said it yourself. The loss didn't hurt her, and I agree. But a loss would not hurt Roxanne. The only benefit either of those two women would have gotten is would have been a win for Julia. So it just didn't make any sense. They're going to build a storyline, sure, but for somebody that we've already tried to get over for 2 or 3 years now, and it hasn't worked.
see.
Now she's got big, but because Cora's got big fake tits, now she's going to be over. Is that the way Is that what we think? Because I don't.
I'm not.
I think
Go ahead.
I think what they should have done was like have the vignettes with Julia, get people acquainted with her, like a couple like 2 or 3 months before, and then have her have like maybe like a month or two of matches like with different women in NXT, and then eventually go after eventually go after Roxanne. So we know that she can go in the ring. We know what she offers for like promos or whatever, like whether she can speak well or not. If they have good vignettes showcasing who Julia is, that can do it for a little while until like she practices her English or she gets a better translator or something like that, and then go after Roxanne after like 2 or 3 months. I think that's the way that they should have done it.
Just put subtitles on her promos, just like they did for Takashita.
Yeah.
See, I still think you can do that.
Nakamura too. Yeah.
See, I think you still can do that. I don't again.
Absolutely.
This is developmental.
That's what
so
I wish they would do.
I don't know how much they want to invest in like cool trailers or stuff like that. They might want to say that for like a main roster debut because it is developmental. But like I still think you can do that. That's why I'm like this loss doesn't hurt her at all. But if like Roxanne did lose, it's like, oh, so somebody just came in and beat her with like I think that hurts Roxanne and would like almost hurt the title because it's like, wait, who's this? Now so and so I don't know won the title. Okay, well I'm gonna go watch football. Like that's kind of like I always look at it as like the casual fan or the storyline because like okay we have that we have the outcome but then it's like all right what are they building to, what's next? Okay, well obviously now Roxanne's gonna have something with Stephanie and she's got a little side thing with Cora. Okay, so that's good. Maybe we don't have anything with Julia, but like she's just gonna wrestle more and we're gonna get to know her more. So like I don't think there was any losers in this.
Well, I agree with and I said it didn't hurt Julia to lose, but that's not the point that I was making. And as far as the casual fan goes, I agree with you. As I said earlier, it was the main roster. Yes, casual fans would not know who she is, but this is NXT. Casual fans don't watch NXT.
A lot of casual fans.
So I don't think that matters in this case. Is all. Casual fans just don't watch NXT. They just don't. Like I promise you, at least 60% of people that watched that match last night knew who Julia was. At least, probably more.
Maybe knew of, but like you'd said, like never seen her before. So like,
but
to me that still falls together.
Every week, but I don't watch NXT every week. I'm not that hardcore. There's the people that are watching NXT every week. They probably know about the indies a lot better than I do. I don't watch much outside of WWE. Outside of Raw and SmackDown.
I mean, I can kind of agree with that.
That's my forte.
I can kind of agree with that as well, but at the same time, like I feel like that's something that they've incorporated into Raw and SmackDown as well. Like your hardcore fans kind of already know what's going on, but that's why we have announcers to introduce us to talents, to inform us of things that might have been missed in between weeks. Like
they do a great job with that too.
If NXT is the developmental, you kind of have to treat it as the same. Like, okay, well, we're gonna do the same stuff. So then when it's up on Raw, and it's basically the same thing.
They do the same stuff, but it's at a fast-tracked pace. You can't a storyline that would take 6 months on Raw can't take 6 months on NXT. They don't have that much time. The whole point is
Yeah,
to get
because
them
they're trying to
get them.
yeah,
The whole
because they're trying
point is to get them
develop
in
more
and out
people.
of NXT to move them up to the main roster. And if you're not good enough to move up to the main roster, the point is to get you at. We need to stop wasting time on you.
Yeah, or they just stay, or they just stay in NXT.
Yeah, I mean,
and
yeah,
just
there
put
are
people
guys
over.
like that, you know,
Yeah.
who, yeah, you know, I mean, because you
Yeah.
do have to have some people like that, obviously, but
Yeah, just putting
the
people over and stuff
I
on
don't
the way
think
to the top.
I don't think they bring anyone into NXT initially with the initial intention of them just staying there.
Mhm.
Is all.
Oh no, the whole goal absolutely with NXT is
Because I do think
to
there was
get
a point
people
where
in and then get them out.
they did try at one point to make NXT like a third brand, like with Balor and Charlotte, but I think they kind of settled on it just works better as a developmental thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And people still do consider it as a third brand. Kind of
Yeah,
like
it is.
myself.
I mean, it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is to an extent. Yeah,
It is, but it's not it's technically developmental, but it's not technically
It's developmental,
that
but they
third
don't
brand.
always
Yeah.
like present it as that. That's kind of where I'm like,
Exactly, 100%.
it's in the middle
agree.
somewhere.
I was gonna say I kind of agree and disagree at the same time. Like, yeah, you want it like the storylines need to be kind of quicker and moving, so like they can always kind of be ready if they need a jump or need an extra person up on the main roster. But at the same time, like I think you had said like with Ethan Page or some other people, like, well, they need to be down here a little for a couple years and get used to the whatever. It's like, well, then that kind of counters the tell stories, get ready and push them up there. Like if they're stuck there for a couple years, that's not really a bad thing. It just might be like, all right, well, your current wrestler, it's good, but I don't know, we're looking for great, so let's try something else. So let's slowly, transition into this other phase. You know what I mean? Like if you're there a couple years doesn't mean like, oh, you're a failed prospect, but we just need to fill the roster out. Like I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, but I also don't think they're bringing in talents, especially when they're young or whatever, and it's like, all right, we got to have you booked and champion, and we got to push you up to the main roster within a year. Like I don't think there's anybody that has that timeline.
If they got that talent, that is what they should be doing. Like they left Bron Breakker in NXT longer than they should have. He should have already been up on the main roster. I mean, I just look at it from the standpoint of imagine we're in 2002 and we say, Lesnar, I know you're really hot right now, but nah, I think you need to lose your first title match, man, because you just haven't been around long enough to warrant that yet. I don't know, man. I just look at it from that standpoint.
I feel like Lesnar's always going to be like the exception to the rule, though, just because of his specimen. Like,
there's plenty of examples that are similar to it, though, when they think they got somebody, and they're not always right. For example, like Sheamus, for example. But when you got somebody, got somebody, and it's clicking, and you think, and they're a star, and you're sure of it, you don't waste time. You don't have them lose just because. I don't know. It's like Bron Breakker shouldn't have lost to Sammy. We had him lose simply to get the undefeated record off of him, which, I mean, it's fine because Sammy's history with Roman, but they still shouldn't have done that. There's no point in having him lose that match. Now he's lost twice in a matter of months.
Yeah,
but that's another.
I'm just like I said earlier. I'm glad they're not doing that with Obafemi because Obafemi's been wrestling on NXT since late November, early December when he won that breakout tournament. So I'm glad that he hasn't lost because it just makes it feel more special.
The number one way to tell the audience that a new person's a big deal is to have them not lose matches. And I mean, that's always been the way it works.
Exactly. 100%.
I guess we could segue into that. What are your guys' plans for Bron Breakker going forward? What do you think happens?
I think he wins the world title probably sooner rather than later. I don't know if it'll be like, I'm not saying it's going to be like, in the next couple months or anything, but I would imagine probably next year he ends up being the world champion at some point.
Really?
Yeah, I could see next year. I could see him.
I don't know if he'll be the one to beat Gunther. Like maybe like Damian or Sammy beats Gunther, right? But whatever babyface does beat Gunther, I think they're probably going to lose the title to Bron Breakker after that. Is what I'm guessing.
I guess creatively speaking, since you were talking about like soon we're going to start talking about Royal Rumble possible winners, would you throw Bron Breakker in there?
I definitely think he'd be on the short list. Yeah, I feel like every year there's like about I'd say 4 to 5 guys that realistically could win. And right now I'm looking at like Damian Priest, Bron Breakker. I was gonna say Jey Uso, but now that he's the IC champ, I actually think that they're probably just gonna stick with that for a while.
Yeah,
I think he's gonna be the IC champ probably through Mania, if not longer. But like Priest, Bron Breakker, I definitely think John Cena's got to be high on the list of potential winners this year. I actually think I'm probably going to pick John Cena, to be real with you. I think John Cena would be cool, man. Like, it's his last
John
run.
Cena's got to have a great run.
These kids need to experience Super Cena, bro. Like, no, I'm serious. Like, let's do it. Like, we know he's done after this.
Leave it all out there.
So put him on Raw, right? It won't affect Cody or Roman. It's the world title, so it's not the WWE title. He can tie. He wins the Rumble. That would tie Austin's Rumble wins record at 3. And then he can win the world title, which is this number 2 belt, but it still will count as his 17th world title win.
Mm-hmm.
He can literally be the champ the whole fucking year if they want him to, and then he can lose to Bron Breakker or
whoever he wants to put over. Yeah,
yeah. I don't know where they're going to be a year. Maybe Bron Breakker fucking tears his ACL. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
A year from now, they're going to have somebody over that Cena would be a great guy to get whoever they want to get over. If you want to get somebody over, use John Cena to do it. It'd be great.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. If he's the world champion, they could hold like John Cena World Heavyweight Championship Open challenges galore
for
like
6
every
months
week
straight.
when he like when he was the U.S. champion. They could put.
Yeah.
He can help put people over while still continuing to be the champion.
Well, and then it gives everyone on the roster, especially the people who maybe are newer that haven't got to work with John before, a chance to work with him, even if it's just one night.
Yeah.
Because those kids,
John, those slight rubs,
they're going to learn a lot from John. Well, like when John was U.S. champ, he worked with a lot of guys from NXT that got to come up and have a match with him.
Kevin Owens,
like
Sami Zayn.
They can do stuff like he's world champ. Who's to say on a random Raw, that Lexus King or Oba Femi or somebody couldn't show up and try to challenge John Cena.
Yeah, and that would just elevate them even more.
Yeah, because obviously they're not going to win. So when you know for a fact that they're not going to beat John, it doesn't really matter if they lose if you already know that they're going to lose going into it.
Yeah.
When a loss,
put on a good match.
I don't think losses really matter as much as people think they do. Like, yeah, short term they can kind of piss you off, but I think overall,
they don't matter.
I don't think losses really matter. I really don't.
I feel like even if you get a loss, it doesn't matter as much. It more or less is, are you believable in the ring, or like, can you tell a story or something? Like, whoever you're matched up with, if it's good, like that's what matters.
I feel like losses just suck if
you become a jobber.
Situation where you're not sure, like where a lot of people really wanted Booker. A lot of people really thought like Booker was going to beat Triple H. And people bitch about the storyline. I don't care about the storyline. It was kind of sucked because a lot of people thought Booker was going to win, and then he didn't. So it was like, oh man, like you're upset when your guy doesn't win. It's natural to feel that way.
Nick, what do you think about Bron going forward, Nick?
I honestly would like to see Bron Breakker be the guy that takes the championship off John Cena. I thought about that for a while. I think it would be cool, kind of like a passing of the torch moment.
It's the natural order of things.
But how does it get there? He wins the Rumble?
No, I think it would probably happen closer towards. I think it would probably be December next year.
Well, Bron could win the King of the Ring or something.
Somebody needs to look up how old Bron is, because I feel like Bron's not that old.
He's in his early 30s. I thought he was in his early 30s.
I thought he was like mid 20s.
No, I think he's 26.
Because I was like, he seems really young. I feel like it's.
He's 26.
When you can do it, great. Age doesn't matter. But I'm also like, there is kind of that, hey man, prove you can do it for a little bit.
He turns 27 on the 24th of this month.
Yeah, so like I believe in his talent. I think he is a future world champion, everything like that. But at the same time, do I think he's going to be the world title by the end of next year? I don't know, man. I don't know if he needs to.
I think if John Cena's going to have a last match, a lot of people think it's going to be Randy Orton, but I think John Cena would want to pass the torch. And I think if John Cena's world champion, I think he would want to pass that torch to Bron Breakker.
I just can't think of anybody else that would be a young up and coming star that would get that rub over Breakker right now.
And see, Gunther doesn't need it. Gunther doesn't need it because he got that rub from Randy Orton, and he was the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. He doesn't need that from John
for sure.
Cena.
They developed him,
Bron Breakker would deserve it the most.
I just don't know if Cena actually is like, that's what they would do. I feel like Cena would actually be the one to be like, no, dude, I don't want the title. Give it to someone else.
I feel the same about John because he's also a very humble dude.
I think he knows that fans want to see the record get broke, though.
Yeah.
At the same time,
he's probably the only person that ever is gonna like have a chance to do it. So I think, and Flair handpicks Cena like as the guy
Mhm.
he wants to do it.
Hmm.
So I think there's a good chance it happens. I really do.
Yeah, even if he doesn't want to do it, he'll do it for the fans. He'll do it for the company. But I feel like deep down he wouldn't want to.
Yeah, I think
Because
if Triple
in a
H
sense, he'd be
tells him to do it, he'll do
disrespecting
it.
Ric Flair. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if
just-
Triple H tells him, "Hey, this is what we're doing," that he'll do it. I do believe. Yeah,
He
I
would,
agree.
but at like on paper, I like the idea of like kind of how you were saying like the U.S. title, like open title or whatever. But I also know based on his interviews, he's basically been like, I'm not recovering the way I used to. I can't do like take the bumps I used to. So as a human being, I don't see that as a thing.
Yeah.
We'll
Like,
see.
That's a good-
Yeah, 'cause
that's a good
Age
point.
gets us all.
He said he's going full time this run, so we'll see what that ends up actually meaning.
He said that, but then I'm also like, well, are we gonna get the same thing with like CM Punk, where he comes back, gets hurt, comes back, a little banged up here. I need a couple weeks off. You know, all right,
Yeah,
have a
he
great
said
match. I need a couple
32
weeks off.
days.
Like, you know, your
But yeah,
body.
if Cena gets hurt, he's done. I'm sure.
Yeah,
He's
like
hurt.
he might try to gut through it and put somebody over, have like, you know, okay, I'll do the Rumble and, you know, only be in the ring 5 minutes or something like that. Like he'll do his best, but like just age wise, bump count wise, I just feel like we're gonna see him. We're gonna be excited just to see him, no matter what he can do. But I don't think we're gonna see him every single week on Raw or SmackDown putting in title matches. I just don't think
That's a very
that's
good point,
I don't
Coach.
think that's realistic, just based on the
Not
human
every
element.
week.
That's a good point.
So like I don't know.
Definitely not every week.
In terms of Braun, I think like if we look short term and small term, I think they've kind of accepted that like fans like him, he's getting chance, you know. Okay, so short term, if they do want to turn him face, he kind of has to stop being the arrogance has to be turned down a little bit. He's kind of been humbled, I guess, by Jay. So now I kind of want to see him be like almost stand up to the bullies for somebody, or just like put on a couple banger matches.
He cut kind of a babyface promo last night, so
In like
I kind
yeah,
of wonder if they're just going to send him after Gunther because I wonder if they're like, hey, we already had Gunther work with all the faces, and they're just like, maybe they're just, I don't know, because that promo last night felt very babyface.
I think he
Yeah,
gets.
I agree.
I think he needs to be in the Rumble because I think he would do awesome. Like he would kind of be like, remember when we had the Roman Reigns spear and tossing everybody out, and he had like 10. I think Breaker
The
will be
Diesel
kind of like
spot.
that. He'll just clean house. He'll have like maybe he's one of those like Final Fours or whatever. Like and that'd be
Yep.
great for him. That's a great rub. That's a good like first Rumble or whatever for him.
Yeah, he'll probably be the Diesel guy this year, I would guess.
But I don't.
Most likely.
Yeah.
If we get a title match against like a Gunther, I think it will be on like the Saturday night main event, whatever or whatever. So, but again, I don't think his first title match he's gonna win. So I don't have him as a rocket ship. I think as you guys do. That it sounds like you guys think he's gonna be a world title within the next year and a half.
I think the next year or two, at least.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if he wasn't.
But yeah, I know that the passing of the torch thing. It does kind of remind me of like the Stone Cold to Cena beer thing. Like, okay, who would Cena do that to? You know, and I don't know who's on the roster that's that like young buck up and coming. That's, I mean, maybe I'd have to sit and think about it more, but Breaker could be that guy. What are your final thoughts on the McMahon documentary on Netflix? Tomlin, did you finally get to watch it, or?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty fair. Overall, I don't know. I still don't know how to feel because most of the stuff that have came out about Vince is like stuff that I had already known. It's like my
Yeah.
opinion about Vince had kind of already been formed like kind of a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know him as a person, so I guess I don't know. I thought that the documentary was pretty fair, though. I didn't think it was a hit piece. I thought they covered the controversies, but I also thought they covered all the good things that he did for the business and stuff like that. So I thought it was pretty fair. I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, was it Bruce Pritchard in like the final episode that was like kind of salty with the director or whatever, and was like,
that was Pritchard.
and I was just like, I don't
understand
get
where
that at
Bruce is
all.
coming from. I get where Bruce is coming from, bro. Him and Vince are close personal friends. I get it.
I get
That's what it is.
I get his personal feelings, but at the same time, I was like, did he just watch the same thing I watched? I don't think it was that bad. It was like my summary of it was just that like, okay, it was kind of that history of WWE that, okay, we blended WWE's history with some of Vince's history, you know, to tell the stories. You know, maybe they showed off more of like the interviews he had during the steroid scandal and this scandal and that scandal more than like the others. But like, I think through the first 4 or 5 episodes, I was like, oh, I saw that in Dark Side of the Ring. Saw that episode in Dark Side of the Ring. Saw that in Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Like,
it wasn't any new info really.
yeah, like the first 5 episodes was like, okay, if you've done, I don't want to say your research, but like if you were interested in this sort of thing, he kind of knew about these things. Like, okay,
Yeah.
here and there, a couple things I didn't know about, and then like the 6th episode, I was expecting maybe the walls to break or something like that, but really it felt like we kind of already got this when it happened through whatever podcast or whatever news or Twitter or whatever. So, and then they kind of went through it fast with like the text messages, because I remember we were in Nick's Discord watching it, and I was like, I actually like reached for my remote because I was like, wait, can I pause that so I can read those text messages? Like they went through it really
Oh,
fast.
you should have asked me. You should have asked me. I would have paused it.
Well, because they were like boom, 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 and I'm like, wait, can we sit and digest this? Like, what did that say? What did this say? Whose name was that? Like but then it was like, well, I guess I kind of already addressed this elsewhere, but my main thing was like I was kind of looking at it as like the film person. Like this is such a tough spot to be put in, because I'm assuming initially they went into it thinking like, all right, we're just going to do like a Vince McMahon documentary. We'll tell the history of WWE and how it evolved, and tell the man behind the scenes and the mastermind of it all. And then as they're shooting it, this stuff breaks, and it's like, okay, well, the court case and stuff is probably not going to really be fully done unless there's some type of settlement for a couple more years. So you either have to like release what you have and it be like, well, why didn't you talk about all the recent stuff? And then they get shit on. Or
well, they did talk about the recent stuff like the last like 20 minutes, but that was about it.
But so this is kind of what I'm saying is you kind of release what they had, which was like the first 5 episodes. And then like as this stuff was breaking, it was like, well, if you wanted to do like a thorough job of like the Vince's court case, you would have had to put the thing on the shelf for like 2 years. So I think they tried to cut the middle and do like, okay, well, we got the history of WWE and Vince, and then we're trying to add in some of the recent stuff, but like we can't really make any conclusions because we don't know yet. So like,
yeah,
I give them credit because like I thought it was shot well, it was produced well, and they kind of did the best that they could do for the timing of this stuff happening. I know some people were like, oh, it's whatever, it sucked, or it was shot well, but like they didn't go into this much. It's like they can't really go into it because they don't really know yet. We're all trying to learn more about it.
They'll probably do like another docuseries at some point, like the next 5 years or something, once everything is done, and then we'll have like an update episode on everything going on. That's my personal feeling.
Yeah.
But like everything that we learned from like the allegations and stuff, the last 20 minutes of the series, it was stuff we already knew, but they just found a way to put it into the story of Vince McMahon, just like the rest of the docuseries. I thought it was good, but like Tomlin said, I already knew like 90% of everything that was said, except for a couple small things.
I think the only hit like Bruce Richards thing of hit piece, the only thing that I kind of like tongue-in-cheek thing was, I remember when he did that one interview and they like cut things in where he was like, I've never done this, then they cut that thing in and it proved him wrong.
Yeah,
like that was the only spot where I was like, okay, that was a little, maybe a little hit piece, that was a little sleazy,
that was good.
But at the same time it was like, but it was entertaining and it was true, so I'm not really opposed to it either. Now if the whole entire thing was that of basically like ruining his character throughout the years, it's like, okay, that wouldn't have been great. And it also would have been like, okay, well, people do make mistakes or say bad things, so like, when he was did something, like the steroid era and stuff like that, I always try to put myself in those shoes, like, well, how would I have handled it? Could you have really handled it? Or it was like, you never know what your wrestlers or your friends or your family are doing anyway. So I doubt that he was fully aware of all that stuff. But in general, I thought it was pretty good, but nothing groundbreaking, nothing like super new.
Oh yeah, the steroid stuff, like they talk about with Hogan, like, oh, look at Hogan. I'm like, dude, Hogan was bald and is like when he was like 24, bro. Like I promise you, he was on steroids before he met Vince McMahon. Like,
yeah,
I promise you, bro. Like, that dude. Go watch the videos of him in like AWA. He's already bald. Or like look at him in Rocky, bro. He's already huge, bro. Like, he wasn't when he was in Rocky. Like that's how he got famous, was from being in Rocky. Like that's the other thing too, is Hogan was already famous when Vince found him. A lot of people don't know that. So
Yeah, I remember watching that movie.
Hogan got famous because he was in Rocky. That's how he got famous originally.
I could never
That's a good
tell
movie.
how old he was because of his hair. Because I always remember him with that like kind of bald thing, and but at the
just
same
used
time,
to look older, man. Like
yeah, true.
Like Arn
Yeah,
Anderson.
like Ric Flair too. Ric Flair's another example.
Ric Flair's been 40 his whole life, dude. Like,
Dusty Rhodes too. Dusty Rhodes was another one.
Dude,
Harley Race.
I have to find it, but there was a picture one time of Arn Anderson when he was like 24, and he looked like he was like 40 years old in the picture. Like I'm like, oh, Jesus, dude, just used to look older, man. I don't know what it is.
I agree too.
I
Might have been style. Might have been
it's
style
a
of
fact.
wardrobe too, but yeah, I agree
Nowadays, like AJ Styles, like if you told me he was 30, I probably wouldn't question it. I'd be like, oh,
Yeah,
wow.
he's close to 50. I believe he's 47.
Like if I had to guess, I'd say he looks older than 30. But if you were like, oh, he's 30, I'd be like, wow, man, he's in fucking really good shape.
Some of it, I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe it's
Like,
health
you
and
know,
knowledge,
like-
but yeah, I agree.